Hello and welcome. Thanks for staying tuned. Welcome to Poultry Science. Thank you for sharing, thank you for liking, thank you for your support, thank you for making others know. Now, we've been talking on the series of matters bordering about on health of animals, precisely poultry birds. And today like previous class, we looked at vaccinations, management of vaccines, administration of vaccines, the 7 rights of vaccine administration. But now we go into something that looks like the opposite of it, or perhaps something that goes hand in hand with it, in order to ensure health of birds. That's drugs. And when we talk about drugs, antibiotics plays a very crucial part in what we'll talk about therapeutic management of animals. Now we'll look at the topic today: when animals develop resistance to antibiotics. First of all, what are antibiotics? We need to know what antibiotics are. Antibiotics are drugs that kills or inhibits the growth of harmful bacteria. Now I want to pick this gradually. The first is drugs. We previously talked about vaccines, and now we'll talk about drugs or vaccine drugs. We said that vaccines actually boost the immune system of the animal and teach the immune system to fight on its own against the pathogens. But drugs do the killing. The drugs are taken in to kill the pathogens. So the animals are actually helped by this. So in cases where vaccines fail, drugs can come in to kill the pathogens. Now, antibiotics now are special kind of drugs that are actually able to kill bacteria or inhibit their growth. At some point, instead of them proliferating, proliferation means grow very fast and take over and rout the immune system of the animal. They actually inhibit their growth. Certain biochemical parts of the bacteria actually stop, so they can reproduce, they can multiply. So one of the things that antibiotics do is either they kill them or inhibit their growth. But there's something here that I'm interested in: harmful bacteria. That means if bacteria can be harmful, there are some that are not harmful. True, there are some that are not harmful. If you recall, we'll talk about, you may have heard of bacteria helping your digestion. Yes, we'll talk about beneficial bacteria. So when you have harmful bacteria, we also have beneficial bacteria. Beneficial bacteria help in cases like curdling of milk in babies and also digestion in the large intestine for man. Now let's come back to what we have today. So now, what does antibiotics do in essence? They actually control bacteria. It's either they kill them or they inhibit their growth. Now let's say something. Before the discovery of antibiotics, bacteria caused more death, or people died more in hospitals than in the war front. Soldiers who died in the hospital were more than those who just sustained injuries. Now, a soldier who sustained injury is likely to survive in the war front than those who sustained injury and were taken to the hospital, because the whole routine of keeping hygiene, doing things, sanitizing up, using things, disinfectants, was not so well developed. And then you see bacteria proliferating, so that even in hospitals, after operation, you see people dying of post-operative diseases, something that have developed as a result of proliferation of bacteria, because the bacteria that have entered in during the process of the suture or whatsoever, which of the processes, have proliferated and then killed the human. Now, bringing it also to animal, the same thing applies. Now, in the discovery of bacteria, especially discovery of antibiotics, penicillin, and that was in 1904. In 1904, revolutionized the medical industry. It really helped because soldiers were no longer dying and people got injured were no longer dying as a result in the proper use of antibiotics. So after operations, people were properly taken care of, and then my bacteria was controlled. And since then till now, the control of bacteria have increased. Better control of bacteria. Now, how we talk about control, there are times where what you're trying to control refuses to be controlled. They begin to resist control. That is why we look at it today, resistance to antibiotics. When the animal, the bacteria is resistant. Now, what are the things what causes resistance to bacteria, to antibiotics? The word misuse of antibiotics. What are the ways in which antibiotics have been misused? For example, when you use antibiotics that is not meant for a particular bacteria, yes, some are bacteria specific. You use one that is not meant for it, and so they taste it, just like vaccines do to the immune system. If it's not able to kill them and to kill the bacteria gets a little dose of it and then develop innate resistance against your drug. So what you have to do in that case is now 4 things you will do. Is either you now begin to use a higher dose because the bacteria itself, those things, some have died, the ones that survived developed resistance against that bacteria because of the same principle that human immune system uses, or human or animal immune system uses to develop immunity against pathogens. Now you have to use higher doses to kill the bacteria once they develop resistance to antibiotics. Another thing is you may have to start searching for alternatives that may even become harmful. Now, some of these drugs, notice that drugs, as much as they kill the pathogens, many of them kill the cells, and some of them have other detrimental effects. Some of them on cerebrospinal cord and some of the nervous system and some of the parts of the nervous system. So you can't drive sometimes when you're dazed, or maybe you feel sleepy or nausea and the others. So that is for human. The same thing applies to animals in some of the cases. Now, also the use of higher or more powerful antibiotics. You discover that when resistance has been built, in order to kill the bacteria, you use a higher or more powerful antibiotics. And that is also leaving some side effects on the chicken. Now, this is something. There is always some degree of level of those antibiotics that are left in the meat or the egg of the chicken. So when consumed, man is also taking a little dose. They may be sublethal, not necessarily killing immediately, but accumulation of sublethal levels, they also lead to resistance also in human. We'll talk about that in subsequent videos. Now, how antibiotics used to treat animals also affects human developing resistance. Then there's also the combination therapy as a means of overcoming resistance. When bacteria develop resistance to antibiotics, you may need to combine 2 antibiotics. You say, okay, let's use ciprofloxacin and let's use this other type. Let's combine this and this. And now it uses cost of production. Now, cases where you ought to previously use just a particular amount of dollars to treat an animal, you may need to use more. And most of the time it's because of our carelessness. And so these organisms have developed resistance to the drugs. Now, what happened? Some of these things, the way by which they develop resistance is by evolving into a new form. And the new forms are also called strain. They form a new strain that becomes this. They have the capacity or the ability to change their form. They develop a new form so that the drug that used to kill them before is no longer able to kill or inhibit them. and so the drug had little or no effect on them. Now, these are some of the problems in animal health care. I want you to put your thought on it. You have a comment, you have a suggestion, please put. You have an addition, or you think there's a place where we need to put it right, please share your thoughts. Thank you for staying tuned. We're going to continue with this. For the length of the video, we'll have to stop now. Thank you so much. Please share if you learned, subscribe and follow. Thank you.